So guys, I don't know. I don't know who tells young people that they have all the time in this world, to fulfill their dreams, to do all the things they want to do. I don't know who does it. I kind of want to talk like St. Paul when he said to the Galatians, who has bewitched you? I want to ask young people, who has bewitched you? Because this just has to be a bewitching. Who eroded our mindset from working in the present, from working currently and doing the right things, working circumspectly and doing things, with the awareness that there's no time? I mean, whoever gave us the idea that we just had so much time in our hands? So, I don't know how else to put it, but let's talk. Let's discuss this time thing. I see sometimes when men or women tell themselves, "Don't worry, this time you have time. There will always be time to do this. There will always be time to do that." Look, I'm going to be a little bit funny in this video, so please pardon me. Look, wake up. Which time? I remember when I was 16, like yesterday. What am I even saying? Hey, wait. So I remember I was in boarding school, so I came out. I think I was asked to go home and get some things because I was supposed to participate in some programs. So I was supposed to get costumes. And I remember going to the market to get those costumes. I was so excited, like super excited. I got to the market and I met with this trader who was selling some of the costumes I needed to buy. And just as, an adult to child question, he was like, "How old are you?" And with all the youthfulness in me and all the exuberance in me, I said, "Can you take a wild guess?" I was so excited about my youth. I was so, everywhere about my youth. And he said, "I think you're 16, I think." And I'm like, "Wow, you see, I'm not 16, I'm 15. You see, I look young, I am young." I was excited, like, the world is before me. I'm youthful. Fast forward, it is 2020. I still remember the day like yesterday. Fast forward to 2020 and I'm in my late 20s. I'm asking myself, "Babe, I don't get how you reach here. You still be 16 now." Somewhere in my mind, I am still 16 years old. I don't understand how I got here. I mean, what happened? That somebody just flipped the clock, and we're here. Oh, I mean, did we really get here? But the truth of the matter is, we really got here. And I'm kind of very interested about this because I think it's worse among Christian young people. They're always fond of saying, "Don't worry, this time, and they just put the time thing on God and say, "Don't worry, the time will come, the time for this will come, the time for that will come." Hey, there is no time. I don't even know how else to say this to you. I'm sorry, it's raining, so you could hear like raindrops, but forget about that. Let's talk about this. There is no time. Don't let these people deceive you, tell you all kinds of story, and make you feel like you have all the time in the world. Where is the time? You have to redeem this time more because this time is going fast. And I'm very, very serious about this. So I'm saying this because a lot of people take time for granted. When I tell people that time is life, they feel like, "What are you saying?" Time is life and life is time. For every time you're wasting, just have it at the back of your head that you're wasting your life. Because every second of your life that is gone, you can't regain. I mean, you can't physically regain. There is no magic you can do to have there's no magic I can do to have 20th of August 2020 again. It is gone and it is gone for good. The only thing that will be remembered is what I did with the 20th of August 2020. So what did you do with your time? It's enough. Stop looking at people and say their life is just so good and mine is bad. Try to ask questions. What did they do with their life and what are you doing with yours? Enough of feeling like there is time. So before I delve into the matter, remember this is just a discussion, so it's not like I have any propped up thing to say, a program I'm following. But when I speak with young people, and please, I'm a young person, it's not like I'm old, but when I speak with young people like teenagers, people 12, 13, and maybe I visit their house and I'm talking to like the young people in the house, and I'm very serious. I'm telling them, you need to start pursuing your dreams. I meet a young person who's 11, say, "I've written a book." I'm telling you, how do I get you to the publishers? How do you publish this? How do I take you a step further from where I met you? And Their parents are all like, you're pushing her too fast. Or you're pushing him too fast. In my mind, I'm like, huh? I wish somebody pushed me like this. I mean, there was nobody who pushed me. So what do you mean you're pushing them too fast? There is no damn time. And stop making children feel like there is time. And that's the reason why you meet a lot of young people, either teenagers or let's say people in their 20s, and you're asking them questions about their life and what they want to do with their life. They just give you all that funny line, I don't really know what I want to do with my life. I tried catering out. It didn't work. So I'm not really sure. I want to see if I'll do acting. Maybe that won't be nice. But overall, I'm not really sure. I'm like, okay, you better be sure about something. You better go into something because there is no time for you to be sure. None of us are really sure about anything we do. None of us are 100% sure about anything we do. Go and ask people. And if there's anybody telling you that they're 100% certain all of the time about the things and the decisions they make, they are lying. I'm sorry to say that, but they are lying. You would have a certain level of certainty, but not 100%. I mean, Jesus came down to die for our sins, but that moment in Gethsemane was some time of uncertainty. He was like, Father, could this cup pass over? And that happens to all of us, the strongest of us. But then the difference between the people on this side and the people on the other side who maximize their time is that they go ahead regardless. They understand that time is a gift and is a fleeting gift at that time. At that, it's moving, so they maximize every opportunity that is given them. They just move and say, I have to do this thing. There's just no time. So what am I saying in essence? I'm here this afternoon to say that you don't have all the time in the world. I'm happy that this is Friday. You don't have all the time in the world. Stop saying one day I'll write that book. Put a date to it. Stop saying one day I'm going to become a film director. Put a date to it and start working towards that date. Because time respects time. Time respects you putting dates on things. Go ahead and put a date to it. Stop saying, I'm going to do this other thing. Hey, the truth is, if you go on the way you're going on, you might never do anything. That's the simple truth. And you're watching and you're thinking, I'm too young, I have all the time. I don't think Jesus felt like that. Just for you Christians watching me, I don't think Jesus felt like that. He knew that there was no time. And so when they went to the temple and his parents were already gone home, they just found out along the line that Jesus wasn't with them. And when they went back and met him at the temple with the scribe, talking with them, listening, asking questions with the doctors, but what are you doing here? We were going home. Like, what are you doing here? And Jesus says, I'm about doing my father's business. He was 12, but he recognized the importance of time. That time waits for no one. And no matter how pretty you are and how talented you are, I can tell you one thing for sure, from experience, that time is not going to wait for you. Time is not going to wait for you to show your skills and your talents and all your giftings to the world. You are going to decide at this time and now to show it to the world. So now is the time to start to reevaluate and ask yourself, how have I even really used my time? Some people are saying, I'm going to quit that job. They don't put no time to it. You will never quit the job. I'm going to start my business. They don't put any time to it. You will never start that business. Some people say, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. God, I am tired of people who talk and don't do. I love people who act, and time loves people who act. Stop sitting right there and saying, what if I start? What if I do this thing now and it doesn't work? Well, if you do it early and it doesn't work, you have the time to change. But what if you don't do it or you do it late? What time then do you have to change? And some other people will say, the time is not right. Keeper of the time and timekeeper. How have you known that the time is not right? When I think of people like that, I think about Jesus and his mother when they went to the wedding in the wedding in Cana. And when she told them, ask him, tell him to do the miracle. Tell him he's going to do something about it. What did Jesus say? He said, it's not yet my time. Mary didn't want to hear none of that. She said, just tell him he's going to do it. Sometimes and many times, it's not like you're waiting for a proper season. I know that, yes, scripturally and spiritually, there are proper seasons, but many young people out there are not even waiting for proper seasons. Seasons have come and gone, and that's just still looking there and say, I'm waiting for the wind to sail right. I'm waiting for the wind to be right so that my ship will just go smoothly. Well, the wind ain't waiting for you. The wind isn't waiting for you one bit. So you better move whether the wind is right or not, and learn to adjust your sails to suit the wind. Adjust your sails so that the wind works in your favor. Stop waiting for eternity. Yesterday, I don't know why I'm sharing all of this really, but I'm sure it's going to be a blessing to somebody. Yesterday, I had to sit down and look retrospectively at my life in my teenage days and all the things I wanted to do and be. And I started to ask myself, how many of those things that have I become or have I done, and why? What was keeping me back? Was it because I didn't have time, or was it because I wasn't using the time that I got? And I found the latter to be true. Sit down and begin to use your time. Jesus said something. He says, it is day, and I must do the work that I must do, because night cometh when no man can work. Look, when night comes, it doesn't matter how talented you are. You just can't work. When night comes, it doesn't matter how pretty you are. It just won't work. When night comes, it doesn't matter how much resources you have. You can't work, because night cometh when no man can work. And everybody's going to have that night season. Night season doesn't mean things aren't working out in your life. Night season is just, I don't even know how to describe it. It's just not the time to work, because everything is dark. You can't see clearly. You can't think clearly. It's just night. So now is your day season. Now, which is the time of your youth, it's your day season. I mean, when you're youthful, you have a multitude of ideas, visions, and dreams flying through your heart. I want to fly the world. I want to tour the world. I want to change the world. Hello. When you start to get older, you stop thinking about changing the world. You're just thinking about how I can put some money in my pocket. And you don't want to be in that situation. That's a night season. You stop dreaming. Or sometimes when you start to get older, you dream, but sometimes you just feel like, would they even happen? Let me just come and start to live the status quo life of get married, have children. All those things I used to say, all those things I used to say about changing the world was just this youthful fantasy. Let me bust your bubble. It wasn't youthful fantasy. Those were the dreams, the original you. The real dreams that got planted in your heart. They were the ones quaking and shaking and wanting you to give them expression. And you were just sitting down there wasting away time. My question to you, frankly, is if you died today, people say if you died today, do you know where you're going, heaven or hell? That's a beautiful question. True, and it's very important. And if your answer to that is no, I'm not going to heaven, I'm going to hell, you better rethink it and receive Jesus into your life. But my question is, if you died today, would you say that you live a fulfilled life? I know you'd be quick to answer that one. Yes, I lived a fulfilled life. I knew Jesus. So I'll put it to you again. If you died today, would you say that the world or the people around you really knew you for who you were? If your answer is no, then you need to go back and start to maximize time. Some of you, people know you to be a civil servant, and there's nothing bad about that. But within your spirit, you know that's not your dream. You know that's not your vision. secretly at night you're saying, someday I'm gonna quit this job, or someday I'm gonna open that restaurant, I'm gonna write that book, I'm gonna write that song, I'm gonna do that movie, I'm gonna start a course in aeronautics, I'm gonna do something, but nobody knows about it. They just know you as Temilade, the civil servant, or Temilade, the girl who works, who drives the care, who works in that company. But that's not you. Inside of you lies songs unwritten. Inside of you lies ideas of businesses that have not been executed. Inside of you lies a multitude of things that God has placed inside of you to change the world that you're not willing or you haven't stepped out to use. And that's a problem. That's a huge problem, because time waits for nobody. Time isn't going to wait for you. Time isn't going to, it just keeps moving. Time, in fact, what freaks me out about time is that time doesn't even wait for the most gifted of people. So if you're gifted out there and say, don't worry, my time, I'm going to come out, I shine, I've got the gift better than this person. Time doesn't know you. The people that time knows are the people that maximize it. So start. The time is now to wake up and maximize it. Maximize time. And I'm going to end you up with a story so that you could just have an idea what I'm talking about. I kind of don't like to share my stories, but I think I need to share this one. While I was growing up, I always wanted to write. I love stories. Hey, I love stories. I love to tell stories. I love to hear stories. I love to just put the picture in your mind. So when I was in college, when I was in high school, I will formulate a movie that never existed and tell my friends about it. I would just them about the movie. There's this movie like this one happened, that one. They'll be all enthralled, like, wow. And then I give them like 2 days to all soak it in. Then I tell them it's not a real movie. I just formulated it in my mind because I was full of stories. It looked like God had put so many stories inside of me. You just click here. Stories were just coming out. I like to believe that Jesus was a storyteller. He wanted to teach you something, and he wanted it to sink real good. He will just tell you a parable. He will tell you a story. So I love stories like that. And sometimes when I didn't have people to tell my stories to, I will pick up my book, pick up my pen, and I'll start to write these novels. And once I resumed school, my friends would just pick up these novels and read. They were so excited about it. Like, the stories in my mind were just so vast. People would read. Sometimes people would pay me and say, come, please, could you just give me to read? When I looked at my environment, I saw stories. So I started writing at a very young age. And most of the books I wrote were not, were fiction. They weren't non-fiction. They were fiction. And people would just read. I started an editorial board in school, and people read. I put like maybe a page or two per day or per week. People read, and they just be waiting for the sequel, and things like that. So I started writing early. And sometimes my parents tried to discourage me, like, I hope you're not trying to copy things from people, because the police, they're going to get you arrested. I said, no, I wasn't copying anything from people. This is me. So I continued like that. So after secondary school, I didn't get admission immediately into university. So, I was thinking, what could I do with this 1 year? I was 16, remember? And I sat down at home for 1 year writing this novel, writing my first novel, my first published book. Hey, in fact, let's pause here so that I can show you the book. Okay, guys, I'm right back. So I wrote, I spent my 1 year at home. I refused to be miserable. One of the questions I asked myself in that 1 year in which I didn't get admission, not because I was dull, but because things happened the way they happened, I asked myself, how can I, So, guys, I'm back. So one of the things I asked myself in that 1 year before I got admission was, how can I maximize this time? I wanted to take my eyes and my heart off the fact that I hadn't gotten admission, and I wanted to take my heart onto how I could maximize this time. How could this time profit me rather than work to my disadvantage? How could it be an advantage to me? So I said, girl, you write good. This 1 year could birth so many books that are in you instead of you just wasting them. You might not be ready to publish, but write them and keep them. I didn't have a computer. This was way back 2008. I didn't have a computer. I sat down and I got this long notebook, and every day I would write a page or two or three, as many as I could in that book. I was writing this book. This book that you see here. Its title is Breaking Loose. Breaking Loose was written when I was just 18 years old, or I think 17. I read this book when I was 17. I didn't publish it at 17, but I wrote it at 17. So let me tell you the story behind this. By the way, Breaking Loose is available for purchase. So let me tell you the story behind this. I wrote this book and I kept writing it until I finally got admission, and the book was there. I didn't have the resources to publish it, and my parents at the time kind of, that wasn't their focus, like to publish a book for me. There were more pressing needs in my family, and I kept the book. I went to school. My first year, second year, I was still writing. Anytime I came back from my lectures, instead of just sleeping away and just gossiping away, I'd spend my spare time writing and just saving it up. And one day in my final year, I saw this very nice guy, and shout out to you, darling Fulani. You are a huge blessing. I saw him. He was just he just finished his own degree, he finished his degree like some years ago. So I saw him. He owned a business center. He was a young guy, and he had this amazing MacBook. I sometimes wished it was mine. And I sat down with him one day. I said, "Could you do me a favor?" And he said, "What's the favor?" I said, "Could you help me type my book? I go to lectures every day." He said, "For how much?" I said, I don't have any money to pay you, but look what we're gonna do." He said, "Well, this book is bulky. I can't give you a timeline, and I can't tell you when I'm going to be done typing this whole thing." I said, "No, I'm going to make it less bulky. Look what I'm going to do. Every day as I pass to school, I will tear a page from this book and give it to you. And when I'm returning the following day, I will pick that page which I've given you and give you a new page to type." And we did this for about 3 weeks. And hey, we were done with this typing. It was like a miracle. Yeah, and I credited him here. But I'm just trying to tell you that you've got time. Or rather, the time you've got, you must maximize. You must take full advantage of time. Do not take time for granted. For instance, I'm supposed to be sleeping. I feel like I should sleep. But I told myself, today is Friday, you're less busy, you've got to shoot this video. Because time is of essence to me. And I think that time should be of essence to you. And there are visions in my heart. I can't show you right here, but I have a storyboard of what I want to build, what I want to do with my life, where I want my life to be in the next 2 years, in the next 3 years, in the next 5 years. I have my strategy on how I want to get there. I don't take time for granted, because time shouldn't be taken for granted. I'm tired of seeing lazy young people lying down on the bed or wherever they're lying. And when you ask them, "Why don't you go get a job?" For instance, you see, I'm not saying the kind of job I want. And sometimes I tell them, "Why don't you get started with the one you don't want? And then as you start with the one you don't want, you would get the one you want." They're still not interested. You don't have time. There is no time. You have just as much time to influence your world. Imagine that Jesus was reluctant about his destiny and was not a time-conscious person. He was just lazing about and just following friends everywhere. Trust me, he wouldn't have been able to fulfill his life's mission at 33. But he was a time-conscious person. Very time-conscious. So that kind of sped up the process. He knew there was a time for everything. Jesus didn't even let his parents get in the way of his life, his destiny, and the timing. He will tell them, "This is my Father's business. He didn't even let the disciples. So why are you letting people dictate your timing? I met this young guy some time ago, and he said, Cecilia, I think I should come to you for mentoring. I said, oh, you don't need to wait. What's the problem? He said, I've always had this dream in my heart I want to execute, but I feel like God hasn't yet told me. I feel like I don't have the leading from God for the right time. He was surprised at my response. I said, the time is now. Go and do it. The time has always been now. It's never changed. I sometimes sense that Christians have found some sort of laziness in saying that they are waiting for God to tell them some timing. As much as, yes, God tells people this is the right time to do this, I feel like so many people are so lazy that I don't know what you want God to tell you. God is giving you His Spirit. God has given you a heart. And He's speaking to you constantly. So they stay from year to year to year and say, oh, I've not just felt a nudge from God. And God is all the way busy saying, my daughter, come on, go. My son, come on, fly. But I just want Him to push me. Well, there's no time. The time is running. I'm sure if you close your eyes, you would remember vividly how you looked when you were 11. Well, I can clearly remember Genesis 1. I can clearly remember SS3 when we were passing out. Man, what do you mean? I can clearly remember when I was 8 years old, and I think, yes, some of the political happenings in the country, that should be around 97, 98. I can clearly remember so many things about my youth, like about my childhood. It's like yesterday. And sometimes I just get all naughty. I wake up in the morning and, I'm just saying to myself, girl, you're in your late 20s. And I'm like, girl, you're not in your late 20s. You were 16. I can clearly remember 16. But then I jolt back from that joke and I tell myself, you're not 16, girl. You are in your late 20s. So that's a reality. I've never let people dictate timing for me because I know there's no time. You might just be there saying, okay, I'm 22 now. When I'm 30, I'll buy my first property. If you have the resources to buy your first property now, there's no crime to buy your first property now. Please do it. I've had to consciously break myself out of stereotypes, female stereotypes that the society has. A woman can own this, she can own a property, she can own that. I've had to consciously break myself out of those stereotypes and just live the life that God intends for me to live. And I really desire that for you. My prayer for you and my instruction is kind of going to be like what St. Paul told Timothy. He was youthful. And I sensed that Timothy felt like he had a lot of time in his hands because of his youth. Because that's what many young people feel. When you're young, you just feel like you have all the time in the world. I'm here to bust your bubble. You don't have all the time. Close your eyes, open it, you'll be 40. When we were younger, we just used to tell people, someone says, how old is she? I remember when we were teenagers and you're 15 and someone says, how old is she? To the auntie, that auntie is 29 or that auntie is 32. Say, she's an old auntie. Fast forward, we are now that age and we don't understand how we got here, but we're here. So guys, it is serious. Remember, as I were having a chat. So my admonition is like what St. Paul told Timothy. He said to Timothy, fan to flames the prophecies, the giftings of God that are upon your life, which came upon you by the laying on of hands. What I hear from that scripture when I stare at it is, look, it seems you're relaxed. There was a laying on of hands upon you that released the giftings of God upon your life, but you're not taking action. You're not fanning it to manifestation. You're just okay that someone has spoken over you. And that's how some of us are. Some pastor or even God himself, or you've read it from the word of God, it says you're powerful, you're great, royal priesthood, amazing, beautiful, house set on a hill. House set on a hill. You're a light. The path of the righteous shines brighter and brighter. Hey, until the perfect day. If you don't maximize time, your path won't shine brighter and brighter. And so St. Paul told him, go and take action. Go and maximize your time. Fan into flames. And that's the same thing I'm saying to you. Go and maximize your time. Stop watching too much TV. You are spending time that you will never regain ever watching TV. That's dangerous. Stop watching too much TV. Stop talking too much. Stop partying too much. Stop eating too much. Stop moving. Stop being everywhere, but not in your destiny. Stop doing everything but not your destiny. It's terrible. And I'd like to end on this note. Dear young person, and when I say young person, I'm talking to everyone from 10 to 35. Let me be nice. Dear young person, do not let your older self blame you for all the actions that you're making now in the days of your youth. Rather, live out your youthful days so that your older selves, you when you're 60, 70, 80, will extol you, praise you, celebrate you. Celebrate the younger you for all the right decisions that you made. The time is ticking. What you gonna do? I love you so much. This is Being Inspired with Cecilia, and I'll see you in my next video.